Glad y'all are watching today. Many of our initial videos, we were still kind of practicing with our camera. We just weren't that comfortable initially to be able to just walk and talk with the camera. And in this first video, it's really about our move, us leaving Florida.
So what you just watched, that was April 2024. When we left Florida, we took the long route. The video will show you the way that we traversed the country to go from Florida to South Dakota.
So we started about a year out. We started planning and trying to figure out the different places we would go. It wasn't the easiest thing in the world to do initially, to figure out if we wanted to put stuff in storage, if we wanted to get rid of everything, what we wanted to keep. We figured we wanted to keep some stuff, but as time went along, we started getting rid of more and more. It took us a while to get where we wanted to be regarding selling everything and all that.
So we started selling our things actively around October, so about 6 months. Facebook Marketplace was not a fun time for us to sell.
Not at all.
We had some success. The pod was dropped off in the middle of March.
Yeah, we had 30 days to fill it.
We started out strong, so we had 30 days to pack the pod, which seems like a good amount of time. However, I do not do the best job of realizing our time, so I kept feeling like we had a lot of time, but what I wasn't accounting for were all the hiccups, things that we ran into, which always seem to happen.
Yeah, there was always something, whether it was, a no-show, really a litany of things that seemed to go wrong, as is probably the case for most people when they're trying to move. We did get to the point where we knew the day before, they told us they were coming during a certain time frame to pick up the pod, and so we worked hard almost until the minute the driver came to pick up the pod, which was very early that morning. Yeah, we were up until just a couple of minutes before the driver came. We were finishing up loading the pod.
So that was extremely stressful because we thought we gave ourselves lots of time between the 30-day window to pack it. After the pod went, we cleaned all day. We were exhausted, and then loaded up the car, grabbed our cat, Mushu, and a litter box and his feeder bowl to try to make him as comfortable as possible. Yeah, so getting used to having him go to the bathroom while we were driving was definitely new. He did all right as we made our way out of Florida and headed north.
Yeah, he was a good boy for sure. As we left, we made our way to South Carolina, where we stayed for one night at a really nice hotel. Our room was right looking out at the water at the beach, which was really pretty. We got up the next morning in Myrtle Beach. Made our way up to Washington, D.C., where we stayed for about 3 days. We stayed at the National Harbor. We got up the next morning and made our way we took an Uber over to the National Museum of African American History and Culture, which was just amazing. We had such a fantastic time. It was a place we'd been wanting to go for a while. Very much enjoyed it. Not only the experience of the museum itself, but also the restaurant, Sweet Home Cafe. And if you have an opportunity to go to the museum as well as the cafe within the museum, we highly recommend doing both.
Yeah, we had the museum, I believe, opened at 10 a.m. and we knew we had to leave by 12:30. Got there as close to opening as we could.
Yeah.
And then there were a lot of school kids, which didn't necessarily, we still loved it, but it was a little more crowded than we were expecting, I was expecting. Even though it was April school trips. So we spent the first hour and a half touring the awesome museum, and then right when the cafe opened at 11:30, we went there to avoid any lines.
By the time we actually left the restaurant, it was already getting pretty packed in there.
We had a great lunch and then went back to finish off where we left off in the museum until time ran out at 12:30, and we had to catch our next Uber to
the ceremony. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So all in all, it was a good time. We got to, ceremony was beautiful. We also got to see some other friends. So we stayed that last night, and then we were making our way to New Jersey.
We left D.C.
We left D.C., made our way up to New Jersey from the harbor area. It's not very far. I mean, and we were in South Jersey. That's where our friends live, where we stayed, so it wasn't very far. A couple of hours, not even 3 hours to get there. That was nice. They live kind of in the woods And so there's a lot of wildlife out there. They have a lake right there. And we had a great time there. So peaceful.
Especially after the stress
Yes.
of trying to
Yes.
pack up and leave. It was nice respite for
Yeah.
like 2 full days
Yes.
to just chill
Absolutely.
there with her.
Yeah. After moving from Florida, the move itself, then leaving Florida, South Carolina, having to unload because we couldn't leave our stuff in our vehicle. Anytime we went someplace, we had to pretty much unload our
The
vehicle.
entire
Everything.
car.
Did that in South Carolina, and then we did it again in DC. And obviously, we did it once we got to New Jersey.
One thing I do want to mention, I know it's unusual that we did it this way. Most people tend to have a van or an RV that they live out of when they kind of progress this way, and we didn't have that. We chose to just use our car. And in hindsight, if we had put ourselves in our future selves, we probably would have been able to pack a little differently to allow us to only bring a couple bags inside. But it wasn't really a thought as we were packing our clothes. Like, oh, we're going to be in this hotel for one night. We could just do a quick grab and grab the cat stuff and be done. We didn't know where anything was.
Yeah.
We were just throwing it in to try to make it fit. We knew we were going to have one night stays multiple times over a 2-week period. So having a small backpack would have really reduced the stress for
Absolutely.
us.
So take our mistakes and try to avoid those if you're planning to do anything like this.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say one more thing. You know, we were thinking, okay, we're going to do this thing and it's going to all be fun. And then at the very beginning, we had to deal with unloading and reloading the car every time. And there was no fun to be had in that.
It was a lot, to the point where we would get in the room and just collapse.
Yeah. But yeah. So we left New Jersey. And from New Jersey, we went up to Sleepy Hollow, New York, a place that Felicia had always wanted to visit and was certainly intriguing to me as well. So we did that. It was not even 2 hours. I think it was more like an hour and a half from South Jersey up to Sleepy Hollow. We visited the cemetery where Washington Irving is buried, for those of you who are familiar with the Sleepy Hollow story. We also visited the Headless Horseman Bridge and did a few other things while we were there.
I just wanted to add, I actually want to visit Sleepy Hollow. Like, I'm sure there are experiences, maybe on Airbnb if you stay a night and you do an experience. But all in all, at least from what we did on our own, it was only about an hour at the most. Like, you could walk the cemetery, just to give some kind of idea. They kind of play off the story. I thought there would be a little more to it. I'm glad we went, but at the same time to kind of set expectation that there's not a whole bunch to do. You'd probably be seeing other areas of New York and just kind of add that on.
Right.
The area was beautiful.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the mountains in upstate New York. As you head up there outside of New York City, it's a beautiful drive. Plenty of reason to go.
From Sleepy Hollow, we made our way to New Haven, Connecticut, where Yale University is. Found an amazing restaurant while we were there as well, Claire's Corner, Copia.
Vegetarian restaurant, but
Yes.
they did have some plant-based, like 100% plant-based option. Amazing food.
Yes.
Love the food.
Absolutely.
It's practically on campus.
Yeah,
I think it might be
it's-
right across the street. We also hit Atticus Bookstore. Of course, we didn't buy anything because we didn't have any room to buy anything, which is going to be a trend. Trend in these videos that I love to go, well, we both love to go in bookstores and not buy anything because there's no room. And then not even a block from the bookstore was the restaurant.
So very much enjoyed New Haven. Now, even though we were only there for, I don't know, a few hours.
I loved it. It was my first time in Connecticut. I really liked the vibe of the area.
But from New Haven, we then made our way over to Providence, Rhode Island. Which from New Haven was another quick drive. So that was all in one day. We left our friend's house in New Jersey, went up to Sleepy Hollow, went straight from Sleepy Hollow to New Haven, and then from New Haven to Providence, where we stayed the night. We didn't really do much. Got to Providence, had some dinner, and
yeah, we stayed in the hotel in Providence and really didn't do much in Rhode Island.
But then the next day we left Providence and headed to Manchester, New Hampshire. Yeah, so we spent a little bit of time in Manchester, checked out the downtown area, and then And from there, we went over to Brattleboro, Vermont, which was, I don't know, maybe an hour or so. The drive was stunning going from Manchester to Brattleboro. It was just the mountain, just beautiful.
The mountains there and the landscape was really some of the most beautiful that I've seen in the 50 states anyway.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a beautiful place. The drive is stunning. Brattleboro, there wasn't a ton. It was a cute little town. We went to a bookstore there, and after I just sat up here and said we don't really buy books because we don't have the room, I actually did buy a book at that one.
That's right.
At that particular bookstore.
So
it was a small book.
It's a small paperback.
Yeah. So. And then we also went to a place. They had the best bone broth I've ever had in my life, and I even wrote that on a TripAdvisor review. And so we left Brattleboro. We made our way over to. We stopped and got maple syrup somewhere in Vermont as well. I mean, you can't go to Vermont and not get maple syrup. So we did stop someplace.
We got 4 bottles.
Right.
I think.
Didn't last very long.
Small bottles.
Because we tend to.
Used it up.
Yeah. So on our way out of Vermont and after stopping to get the maple syrup, we headed to Syracuse. We just stayed the night there as a stopping spot, I guess, before making our way over to Detroit the next day. This is us practicing with the GoPro. I had been to Detroit once before, but I was very young. I want to say maybe like 8 years old. So I didn't remember anything about it and was very much looking forward to it. And it was a place that Felicia was looking forward to visiting.
I had never been, so that was my first time. Right.
So
and that drive was nice. We pretty much snaked along Lake Erie.
So Detroit, it just so happens too that the NFL draft was going on at that time, which was great for me for sure. Had an opportunity to go down and take in some of the festivities of the NFL draft, which was cool.
We got a really great Airbnb in Detroit.
Yeah, we did.
It was a great house, great location, great hosts. We were allowed to have the cat. It was a little tricky booking hotels and booking Airbnbs that were cat friendly because most say pet friendly, but when you actually talk to them, it's dogs only. So I don't really know why they use the word pet. We did our due diligence. We didn't have any issues with any of the places that we stayed we might have had to pay a pet fee at some of the places, but not the Airbnbs. We didn't have to pay extra for the pet.
Really at the hotels. Anytime we stayed at a hotel, there was usually a pet fee involved. Anywhere from $50 to about $150. Detroit was great. We had a really good time. Went to a bookstore there as well.
We went to the draft.
Yes.
And then we drove to Hamtramck.
Yeah, went to Hamtramck.
Kevin had wanted to check that out.
Which was great. Very much enjoyed that. Found an incredible restaurant there called the Yemen Cafe. Amazing. Just that place was amazing as well. So that was
really cool city.
It was, Hamtramck is a very tiny city.
And then we went to Dearborn.
Yep, went into Dearborn.
And that was where we went to the mosque first.
We did. Yeah, we visited a mosque.
We went to the Arab American Museum. That was also in Dearborn. Recommend that one. Hamtramck and Dearborn are suburbs of Detroit.
So that's going to do it for our first video. And if you made it to the end, you either enjoyed it or, hi, Mom. Our hope and expectation is that the delivery of these videos will get better as we get a little bit more comfortable with both filming as well as with editing. And in our next video, we're going to be coming or sharing our experiences with you from our time in Rapid City, South Dakota, as well as the surrounding areas, to include Badlands National Park and Teddy Roosevelt or Theodore Roosevelt National Park as well. So until then, we're going to share a couple of outtakes with you. We hope you enjoy and see you next time.
I think it's a fly family. I don't know why they're attracted to us.
So.
She knows.
Myrtle Beach anyway. We probably wouldn't even use any of this anyway, but I'll still try to.
And then just start talking.